group of native people. Who are the Wampanoag? The Wampanoag are made up of different tribes. For thousands of years, they've lived in the area that is now Massachusetts and Rhode Island. When Europeans arrived in the 1500s, the tribes traded with them. Then, the Europeans forced some Wampanoag men into slavery. One of the men was Tisquantum, who was also known as Squanto. You're right, Moby. It was a tough time for the Wampanoag, and things got even tougher. The European explorers brought a disease that the native people couldn't cure. Many Wampanoag got sick, and over half of the population died. Then, in 1620, a ship called the Mayflower arrived on Wampanoag lands. The people on board were from England, and they had left their homes to settle in America. Why did the settlers leave England? In the early 1600s, a group of people in England disagreed with the church and the government. They wanted to leave the country and start their own colony. A colony is a place where people settle far from home. There was already a colony in America called Jamestown, in what is now Virginia, so they headed that way. They sailed on the Mayflower and landed in a place they called Plymouth. It's in the area that is now Massachusetts. Today we call these settlers Pilgrims. Well, they didn't really dress that way, Moby. Over time, people created and shared artwork of the Pilgrims that wasn't really accurate or true. What happened when the Pilgrims landed in Plymouth? The settlers arrived in winter, and many had gotten sick on the voyage. They were cold, tired, and unprepared for the weather. They didn't have enough food, so they stole from a Wampanoag storage pit. I know, Moby, it wasn't right. Massasoit Usamequin was the sachem of the Wampanoag. A sachem is a leader. The word Massasoit means great sachem or great leader. Massasoit Usamequin met with John Carver, the governor of Plymouth Colony. They agreed to keep peace and protect and help each other. Squanto, the Wampanoag who was forced into slavery, had made his way back home. He spoke English and taught the Pilgrims how to grow crops. He also showed them around the area. One day, the Wampanoag heard loud noises coming from the Plymouth colony. Massasoit Usamequin and a large group of men went to see if the settlers needed help. Turns out, they were having a feast to celebrate the harvest. The Wampanoag and the settlers decided to join together, but there wasn't enough food. So the Wampanoag hunted and brought more food so there'd be enough for everyone. The feast lasted 3 days. They ate seafood, squash, berries, nuts, and venison, which is deer meat. There was peace between the Wampanoag and the settlers for a while. Then, more settlers moved onto Wampanoag land and created laws that were not fair to the native people. Eventually, war broke out. In the end, the settlers won and forced the Wampanoag to leave their homes. The native people had to dress, pray, and live like the settlers.